Hello, 22nd day of 30 days reading challenge. I am reading The Crime and Punishment by Dostoevsky, page number 278. Oh, Pyotr Petrovich, you would not believe what a fright you have given me. Alexandria Alexandrovna went on. I have only seen him twice, but I thought him terrible, terrible. I am convinced that he was the cause of Marfa Petrovna's death. It's impossible to be certain about it. I have precise information. I do not dispute that he may have contributed to accelerate the course of events by the moral influence, so to say, of the affront. But as to the general conduct and moral characteristics of that personage, I am in agreement with you. I do not know whether he is well off now, and precisely what Marfa Petrovna left him. This will be known to me within a very short period, but no doubt here in Petersburg, if he has any pecuniary resources, he will relapse at once into his old ways. He is the most depraved and objectively vicious specimen of that class of men. I have considerable reason to believe that Marfa Petrovna, who was so unfortunate as to fall in love with him and to pay his debt 8 years ago, was of service to him also in another way, solely by her exertions and sacrifices. A criminal charge involving an element of fantastic and homicidal brutality, for which he might well have been sentenced to Siberia, has hushed up. That's the sort of man he is. If you care to know, good heavens, cried Procharia Alexandrovna Raskolnikov. Listen attentively. Are you speaking the truth when you say that you have good evidence of this? Dunya asked sternly and emphatically. I only repeat what I told in secret by Marfa Petrovna. I must observe that from the legal point of view the case was far from clear. There was and I believe still is, living here a woman called Resli, a foreigner, who lent small sums of money as interest, and did other commissions. And with this woman, Svidrigailov had for a long while close and mysterious relations. He had a relation, a niece I believe, living with her, a deaf and dumb girl of 15, or perhaps not more than 14. Rasselas hated this girl and grudged her very crust. She used to beat her mercilessly. One day the girl was found One day the girl was found hanging in garage. At the inquest, the verdict was suicide. After the usual proceeding, the matter ended, but later on information was given that the child had been cruelly outraged by Skibidilov. It is true, this was not clearly established. The information was not given by another German woman of loose character, whose words whose word could not be trusted. No statement was actually made to the police. Thanks to Marfa Petrovna's money and exertions, I did not get beyond gossip. And yet the story is a very significant one. You heard, no doubt, Avdotya Romanova, when you were with them the story of the servant Philip, who died of ill treatment as received 6 years ago, before the abolition of serfdom. I heard, on the contrary, that Philip hanged himself. Quite so. But what drove him, or rather perhaps disposed him to suicide, was the systematic persecutions and severity of Mr. Skibidelov. I don't know that, answered Tonya dryly. I only heard a queer story that Philip was a sort of hypochondriac, a sort of domestic philosopher, The servant used to say he read himself silly, and that he hanged himself partly on account of Mr. Svidrigaïlov's mockery of him, and not his clothes. When I was there, he behaved well to the servants, and they were actually fond of him, though they certainly did blame him for Philip's death. I perceive about the Romanova that you seem disposed to undertake his defence all of a sudden, Lucian observed, twisting his lips into an ambiguous smile. There is no doubt that he is an astute man, and intuitive where ladies are concerned, of which Marfa Petrovna, who has died so strangely in a terrible instance. My only desire has been to be of service to you and your mother with my advice, in view of the renewed efforts which may certainly be anticipated from him. For my part, it is my firm conviction that he will end in a debater's prison again. Marfa Petrovna had not the slightest intention of settling anything substantial on him, having regard of their children's interest, and if she left him anything, it would only be the merest sufficiency, something insignificant and inferior, which would not last a year for a man of his habits. Pavel Petrovich, I beg you, said to me, say no more of Mr. Skibiderevogolov. It makes me miserable. He has just been to see me, said Raskolnikov, breaking his silence for the first time. There was exclamation from him, and they all turned to him. Even Pyotr Petrovich was roused. An hour and a half ago he came in when I was asleep, waked me, and introduced himself. Raskolnikov continued. He was fairly cheerful and at ease, and quite hopes that we shall become friends. He is particularly anxious, by the way, Dunya, for an interview with you, at which he asked me to assist. He has a proposition to make you, and he told me about it. He told me too that a week before her death, Marfa Petrovna left you 3,000 rubles in her Dunya, and that you can receive the money very shortly. Thank God, cried Luceria Alexandrovna, crossing herself. Pray for her soul, Dunya. It is a fact, broke from Lucian. Tell us what more. Dunya urged Raskolnikov. Then he said that he was not rich, and all the estate was left to his children, who are now with an aunt. Then that he was staying somewhere not far from me, but where I don't know. I didn't ask. But what does what does he want to propose to Dunya? Cried Pulcheria Alexandrovna in a fright. Did he tell you? Yes. What is it? I will tell you afterward. Raskolnikov ceased speaking and turned his attention to his tea. Vakil Petrovich looked at his watch. I am compelled to keep a business engagement, and so I shall not be in your way, he added with an air of some pique, and he began getting up. Don't go, Pyotr Petrovich, said Dunya. You intended to spend the evening. Besides, you wrote yourself that you wanted to have an explanation with mother. Precisely so, about their Romanov. Pyotr Petrovich answered impressively, sitting down again, but still holding his head. I certainly desire an explanation with you and your honoured mother upon a very important point indeed. But as your brother cannot speak openly in my presence of some proposal of Mr. Scribbler, I too do not desire and am not able to speak openly in the presence of others of certain matters of the greatest gravity. Moreover, my most weighty and urgent request has been disregarded, assuming an aggrieved air. Luzorin relaxed into dignified silence. Your request that my brother should not be present at our meeting was disregarded solely at my insistence, said Tony. You wrote that you had been insulted by my mother. I think that is must be explained at once, and you must be reconciled. And if Rodia really has insulted you, then he should and will apologize. Pyotr Petrovich took a stronger line. There are instances about the Roman hour, which no goodwill can make us forget. There is a line in everything which it is dangerous to overstep, and when it has been overstepped, there is no return. That was not what I was speaking of exactly, Pyotr Petrovich. Donia interrupted with some impatience. Please understand that whole future depends now on whether all this is explained and set right as soon as possible. I tell you frankly that the start that I cannot look it in any other light, and if you have the least regard for me, all this business must be ended today. However hard that may be, I repeat, if my brother is to blame, he will ask for forgiveness. I am surprised at your putting the question like that, said Luzovic, getting more and more irritated. Steaming and, so to say, ordering you. I may at the same time, very well indeed, be able to dislike some member of your family, though lay claim though I lay claim to the happiness of your hand, I cannot accept duties incompatible with. Ah, don't be so ready to take offense, Pyotr Petrovich. Tonia interrupted with feeling. And be the sensible and generous man I have always considered and wish to consider you to be. I have given you a great promise. I am your betrothed. Trust me in this matter, and believe me, I shall be capable of judging impartially. My assuming the part of judge is as much a surprise for my brother as for you. When I insisted on his coming to your interview today, after your letter, I told him nothing of what I meant to do. Understand that if you are not reconciled, I must choose between you. It must be either you or he. That is how the question rests on your sides, and on is. I don't want to be mistaken in my choice, and I must not be. For your sake, I must break off with my brother, and for my brother's sake, I must break off with you. I can find out for certain now whether he is a brother to me, and I want to know it, and of you, whether I am dear to you, whether you esteem, whether you are husband for me.